As I wait for my presentation to come online, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed, I'd like to thank the organizers of the summit for involving the private sector and asking us to come and speak about the role of the private sector in prevention and control of micronutrient deficiencies. My name is Paloma Fernandes, and I am the CEO of the Cereal Millers Association. I'm very passionate about food safety. I'm also happy to see a lot of our private sector players and would like to acknowledge all the other association heads who are here today. Maybe you can stand up, association heads. Yes, thank you. This shows our commitment to food fortification. So don't keep us on the outside. We're part of this same team that wants to work with you. Thank you. Yes, I said I'll be talking about the role of the private sector in prevention and control of micronutrient deficiencies. As we go to the next slide, this was an outline of what we should have talked about, but we can see that the current nutrition status has been talked about by everyone, so we'll kind of slip it. We're going to talk about the benefits of investing in nutrition. What are the challenges we face? Are they insurmountable, or can we create opportunities out of the challenges? Where can we take leadership of the fortification efforts? What is the way forward for the private sector? What do we need as private sector? We go to the next slide. So first and foremost, the private sector does not work in isolation. We are partners in the global malnutrition problem. We too, surprisingly enough for all of you, we too want to make a difference. The private sector does want to make a difference. We subscribe to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, where a global commitment has been made to tackle nutrition and hunger. The aim is to end hunger, achieve food security, and improve nutrition, and of course promote sustainable agriculture. We've heard this all through the conversations. However, we also know that ending hunger, food insecurity, and malnutrition for all will really require focused efforts, especially in Asia and Africa. And we believe that strong and resilient food systems are the most cost-efficient and sustainable ways to prevent all forms of malnutrition. We must recognize that our businesses play a critical role in the food systems approach, all the way from the farm to the fork. And we need to ensure there's an enabling environment for private sector to play its part. It is therefore very important for us to converge, partner, and work together to make that difference. We'll talk about, next slide please. So we've seen what the problem of malnutrition is. We know, as private sector, we know the problem is real. We know that globally 1 in 3 people worldwide are malnourished. We know 2 billion people worldwide are deficient in vitamins and minerals. We've heard 1.9 million are overweight or obese. 821 million are facing chronic hunger. 151 million are stunted. Now we've heard this word stunted a lot, but it actually made me go back and find out what stunted was. And it's a condition triggered by poor nutrition where children have impaired growth and can't attain a decent height. I realize that 51 million are wasted. Again, a condition where a child has low weight with respect to his height. These are serious things because it affects the future of this child. In my next slide, we've talked about the problem of malnutrition in Kenya. And we looked at the concept note shared by the Kenya Fortification Summit. And it gave us all these statistics about women, 42% of the women suffering from iron deficiency anemia, 26% of the children under 5 suffering from stunting. And these are worrying trends for us. So as the private sector, why should we invest in nutrition? I mean, for all the slides we've seen about how nutrition has affected us in Kenya, how malnutrition has affected us, I think as private sector, it is imperative that we invest in nutrition. No more excuses. We need to take this really seriously. In my next slide, we know that large-scale food fortification is the way to go. And we want to, I realize that the slides are quite small, But just what are the three things we know about large-scale food fortification? One, we know it's not new. I think it's been historically proven as it's been in existence since the 1920s. And in 1920s, salt iodization in the US saw a 74 to 90% decrease in goiter. In the 30s, 40s, 50s, there have been fortification attempts. In the 1970s, sugar was fortified with vitamin A, and it showed that it significantly reduced vitamin A deficiency. So we know it works. We also know, and it's been proven, that large-scale fortification is highly cost-effective. I heard a gentleman talk about the global Copenhagen consensus of 2008. This consensus took stock of the world's biggest problems and their solutions with the basic idea that if you had $75 billion to donate to worthwhile causes, which one would you choose and where would you start with? And it seemed like a panel of the world's most distinguished economists delivered a ranking list of the most promising solutions to 10 of the most pressing challenges facing the world today. One of the biggest challenges, of course, was malnutrition and hunger. Here, micronutrient supplements were top-ranked, and fortification was third-ranked solution. And they had tremendously high benefits compared to the cost put in them. We also know that large-scale fortification works when a commercial model is adopted. Here, consumers participate in the solution, and we can harness the power of the food sector. So now, trying to look at the current economic landscape and how we can invest in nutrition. See, we've had a lot of changing economic and nutritional landscapes. These come with new challenges. But for us, and today, we look for opportunities also within these challenges. So we know we've had the food price crisis. And here, what it showed is that less nutritious food is being consumed simply because the price of probably more nutritious food is higher. Here, we're saying that fortification, therefore, is essential to prevent vitamin and mineral deficiencies. We've seen the rise in urbanization. We've seen the rise in incomes for a few of our people. This is also an opportunity now to reach new customer segments with fortified, industrially produced foods. Because before, when they were in the rural areas, it was harder to reach them. Now coming into the urban areas, let's use these as opportunities. Sadly, we've also seen the rise in consolidation of producers. A lot of my milling friends will tell you that it's been very hard to mill in Kenya. Doing business has become almost impossible in some of our situations. And what's going to happen is that there will be consolidation of a lot of our products and of a lot of our companies. While we look at the negative side and say that a lot of people will close shop, there is an opportunity in consolidation because industries now become more mature. They then get broader coverage and they can reach the market with more fortified products. The other changing consumption pattern, this nutrition transition that people are talking about, where we see our kids and all of us consuming more processed foods. We can see there's an increase in overweight and obesity, and also a lot of diet-related diseases. But we look at this now as an opportunity to try and fortify some of this food so we're still getting adequate nutrients. So now that we know that nutrition is proven, cost-effective, and can work, what can we achieve by investing in nutrition? And really hearing from all of you, there is very strong evidence that suggests that eliminating malnutrition in young children can prevent child deaths by more than 1/3 per year. That's unbelievable. It can also reduce poverty as well-nourished children are 33% more likely to escape poverty as adults. There are other things that it can do, such as boost gross national product by 11% in Africa and Asia. We're saying it can increase wages by 5% to 50%. It can empower women to be 10% more likely to run their own businesses. So you can see that when girls and women are well nourished and have healthy newborn babies, here the children develop strong bodies and minds. As adolescents, they achieve higher grades. Young adults seem like they're going to get jobs faster and probably earn higher earn a little more than before. What it does is families and communities emerge out of poverty, making them more productive. And what we end up doing is really creating a safer, more resilient, and a stronger world. Why wouldn't you invest in nutrition? Some might ask, in the next slide, is it really worth investing in nutrition? And here I've heard a lot of different figures that have come out. In my next slide, what it shows us that for every dollar that's invested in nutritional programs, you get $16 back. So again, it shows there is a return on investment. However, for all of this to happen, in my next slide, we need to show that there have to be fundamental conditions for the industry to actually continue achieving good results. Industry leaders, one, they really need to have a stronger ownership of the food fortification process. I would like to see leaders in our mills actually taking interest and finding out what sort of levels of fortification. Don't just leave it to your QA teams. Yes, they know what they're doing. But if you as an industry leader know how important it is and you're passionate about making a difference, then go and check that all your products are fortified, take a stronger position, come back. If there are any challenges that are affecting you, talk to the people who know about it and make that difference. For it to work, also the industry needs to be competitive and profitable. If it's not sustainable, it's not going to work. And we are facing problems like that because we need to make it sustainable. How can this happen? Again and again is the theme of this summit. We need to create an enabling and supportive environment for fortification. Without the enabling environment, it's not going to be sustainable. One of the biggest issues we faced is really the need for a strong market for fortified products, and especially so in a voluntary environment. We need to create the awareness of safe and fortified foods. You actually want a consumer to walk into a store, into a supermarket, into a retail and say, where's the mark to show that it's fortified? Because they understand what the value of that fortification is. We don't want to mandate people to just go and pick up a packet because it has a logo. They need to understand it. And once they start demanding for that product, I can assure you that not a single person in the private sector will not produce that product. The other one that we found has been excellent is, creating partnerships between sectors. There are a lot of people who are sitting here, part of, the Gains and Nutrition Initiatives, TechnoServe, UNICEF. They have so much information. Create the partnerships with them because that's where we see where they really empower us. Like everything else, there have been a lot of challenges. I think Ken talked about a lot of the challenges, and I won't go into the premix. One of the biggest things that we've noticed is in Kenya, there is a price-sensitive demand. So we have high costs of production and distribution, yet these are targeted at low-income populations. This, for us, is a major challenge. Unfortunately, it's been made worse by the COVID pandemic, where the purchasing power has really reduced. You cannot believe that these days someone struggles to buy a bag of maize flour, a bag of unga for ugali. We never saw that before. We're seeing it now. So any increase in price is really detrimental to consumer preference. If he sees that the price on the shelf for a fortified product or one that's tested for aflatoxins is higher, he will go to a posho mill because it's cheaper. And it's understandable. Unfortunately, there's also been a bit of lack of incentive. Sometimes fortification is seen as a weak business case. Millers sometimes don't see the need to add costs to a production line where there's no apparent increase in sales. So if I today thought that if I put a fortification logo on my packet, tomorrow 200 packets will be sold, it's not happening right now. So there is the lack of incentive. The other thing is we've seen a lot of industry fatigue. And why is that? Because there has been a poor recognition of compliant companies in the past. And I'm glad this food summit has recognized that, and they will start awarding a few of the companies who have performed well tomorrow. Step in the right direction. Hopefully it will incentivize a lot more people to fortify. Imbalanced regulations has been one of the biggest problems we faced as commercial millers. There are uneven playing fields in terms of regulations. These are expensive, and they push the market share to those non-compliant millers under the regulatory radar. What does this mean? First of all, I think Ken spoke about it, there's a duplication of regulations. Secondly, it's those who have a lot of visibility, who are visited 10 times in 1 week because of their visibility. This imbalance in regulation is what is causing the move now to the market that is less regulated, that's under the regulatory radar. So we need to ensure that there are level playing fields for everyone. I won't talk about poor quality premix, we've talked about it. However, even after we look at the challenges, we hope that all of you in government here are listening to us and the partners. These challenges are not insurmountable if you work with the private sector and understand our issues, and we can then find opportunities from some of the challenges we face. On my next slide. So what action can we take as businesses to improve nutrition? We truly believe that we have a brand as industry that is powerful and can be used to influence consumption. And how this is done is that you communicate the benefits of fortification using your brands. That is what industry needs to do. We need to create partnerships with key actors within the chain to improve our production systems and improve effectiveness of fortification. For the private sector, and we've said it time and again, self-regulation is key. What you need to do now is help all the producer associations, strengthen them, hold their members to high standards. If they can self-regulate, if you accredit their laboratories, half your work is done. And we realize that government doesn't have the capacity to come and test each of our products. For example, at the CMA, if we are putting 200 million packets of wheat flour and maize flour on the shelves every month, do you have the capacity to test? So allow the producer associations, strengthen them, help them to self-regulate, build their capacity to test, build their laboratories, accredit them. And that would have been one of the easiest things to do. Events such as this summit have been brilliant because now it becomes a national conversation on fortification. And of course, our distinguished cabinet secretaries were here. They'll also understand where the challenges are and where the opportunities are. Again, we need data. And I think somebody spoke about it, my earlier colleague spoke about data, very important. Private sector struggles a lot because you're trying to tell people, come on guys, let's make a difference. But we don't have enough data to tell us that we're actually making that difference. So it's important. In conclusion, the private sector is so powerful. We are partners in this journey, and we really need to get it right. Our commitment to fortification must be unquestionable. Food fortification and the building of our immunity right now is arguably more important than ever because of the COVID pandemic. And we really need to make sure that we are building our consumers' immunity. For us as the private sector, we have to bear in mind that a healthier population means a healthier market and a healthier workforce. This works for us in the private sector. These are crucial to the survival of our businesses. We know our consumers. Who knows our consumers more than we do? We know them, we produce the food, and we have the power of our brands to actually influence customer decisions in the right direction. So let's do that. We need data. It encourages us to do the right thing. Just like drivers need to be trained to drive, food business operators need to be trained on aflatoxin mitigation and food fortification before they are even licensed to mill. And Brenda is here. Brenda, honestly, they have to be trained to get a license to mill. One day a guy is here, he's a kinyozi. The next day there's no maize, he's milling maize. It's not possible. Let's not be entrepreneurs with people's lives. We have to be really serious. If we want to produce food, it has to be safe. And lastly, we just need this level playing field. Reward those who comply. Punish defaulting ones. Self-regulation here is the answer. And my last slide is just telling us as the industry, always do the right thing. Don't wait for government, regulators, activists to tell us what to do. We must always do the right thing at the right time. Thank you very much.